great segue. Would you like to show some of that in practice, Huseyin? He has prepared a demo for us today.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
1 sec.
I'm a visual person, so this is great for anybody in the audience who wants to kind of see how Botkube implements those things in practice.
Okay, I will try to share my entire screen. So
Take your time, Huseyin.
okay, what about now? Can you
Yes.
see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so I mostly talk about GitHub, how GitOps and the Botkube works together, because here also in Botkube, we are trying to do releases, of course, as other teams, and we are trying to use GitOps notation. So basically, if you want to deploy Botkube for Kubernetes monitoring or debugging, you can use the famous tools. For example, in this example, I prepared a Terraform project, and basically here, I will try to achieve deploying Kubernetes clusters and then deploy Botkube into all of the clusters, and then try to contact them by using Slack, for example. There are a couple of other platform options, but today we will use Slack. Let me jump into the Botkube, but before doing that, Botkube is used for monitoring, Kubernetes monitoring, and then you can use it for debugging or interacting with to interact with Kubernetes clusters. You can deploy the open source version, and also, if you want, you can deploy a Botkube instance by using the cloud, Botkube Cloud. So if you want to create for example, Botkube deployment for your pre-prod environment, let's say that, I already have the 3 Botkube instances, but here I just wanted to create pre-prod instance, Botkube instance, by using, for example, production read. Once you do that, you will see it will clone your settings of the previous instances. Here, this is the place where you define your platforms. Platforms mean this allows you to interact with your Kubernetes cluster. This will be the platform between your Kubernetes cluster and Botkube deployment. So I will also set up Discord, Mattermost, if you are using one of these tools. In this demo, there will be Slack, and also you can even send this notification to webhook, Elasticsearch, this kind of very well known endpoints. So here I want to use Slack, and I will use this channel for my notification. So if there's something in Kubernetes cluster, I will see the notification is in this channel. Next. Also, we have plenty of plugins in Botkube. So Botkube have a core feature of Botkube can understand lots of things related to Kubernetes environment. Although, of course, you can extend it by using certain plugins. For example, ArgoCD, Captain, GitHub Events. For example, if you have Prometheus installation, you can connect it with Botkube, and Prometheus alert can also ship to your Slack channels. In this session, I will use Kubernetes Helm and kubectl, but don't worry, you can modify your plugin list after you create the instance. Next, and let me include this action and aliases. Great. So this is how simple you can create your instance. So basically, instead of trying to maintain your configuration on your own, you can create instance in the cloud. So basically, if you want to deploy Botkube in any kind of Kubernetes environment, you can grab the command from here and just install it. That's it. Once you do that, it will connect your cluster, Kubernetes cluster, with the cloud environment. Okay, so I already have production, read, production, and staging. So this is the Botkube instances. And assume that I want to deploy those ones into Kubernetes cluster, which is located in DigitalOcean. I don't know if you all use the Terraform for infrastructure provisioning, but here, let's start with the versions. In versions, what I'm doing is, okay, I need DigitalOcean, Helm, Kubernetes, and kubectl provider in order to create my Kubernetes cluster on DigitalOcean, as well as using Kubernetes, kubectl, and Helm for creating resources or maintaining resources inside Kubernetes environment. So Helm, Kubernetes, and kubectl, they are almost de facto provider in Terraform projects if you are dealing with Kubernetes environment. So here I defined my dependencies, and inside, of course, I require a couple of parameters like production identifier. Let's say that I have a product and this is my business logic. Inside this business logic, I need to use this API key identifier. This is the parameter for this section. So if you deploy, basically you create a metadata in Botkube Cloud, and it contains a couple of metadata. For example, the identifier. The ID of this instance, your API key, and if you provide those two parameters here in Terraform project, you will see the Botkube will be automatically deployed to your Kubernetes cluster, and it will connect to our control plane in Botkube Cloud. So I have three instances: production, staging, and production read. And each environment has two parameters: identifier and API key. So in main.tf, so basically I am using this file as an entry point. So staging cluster, production cluster, and production read. As you can see, since in order to reusing the logic, I have defined a module. I will show you in seconds. So basically, you need to pass those three parameters: name of the cluster, API key, and identifier. So when you jump into Botkube definition here, you will see this provider configuration is for Terraform. Assume that you are about to use an SDK in your Go project. What you do, you first add your dependency, something like go mod, download AWS SDK. And in order to use AWS SDK, you need to configure the client first, right? Of course, it can understand the credentials from environment variable, etc. But basically, you need to configure it in order to connect to AWS. So here, you define a provider configuration because this Terraform needs to know where is the Kubernetes environment, what are the credentials. So since we already created Kubernetes cluster in DigitalOcean, we have a reference for that. So this is the resource coming from DigitalOcean provider. Kubernetes cluster, just a name, region, the Kubernetes version, and you can see I define a node pool, which is a very standard, the worker pool contains only one node, and then there is a standard machine type here, which for core and 8 GB of memory. Of course, you can deploy Botkube by using Helm. So as you can see here, a repo URL chart version. This is our latest version, by the way. And three parameters: endpoint, identifier, and API key. So they are already provided during the execution. I also deployed Argo here, ArgoCD, because I will show you how to use ArgoCD plugin so that if there is anything, any change, any kind of interaction with ArgoCD, you will get the notification in Slack channel directly. Also, a couple of other resources. You can, for example, this is kubectl usage. This is Helm release usage. You can use different kind of variation in Terraform project. So in Botkube, when you jump into Botkube documentation here, you will see on the left-hand side, there is, I need to zoom, okay, source, ArgoCD. So in this project, in this documentation, the very beginning section of this documentation is about cluster role and cluster role binding. This is because ArgoCD, Botkube ArgoCD plugin can do lots of things related to ArgoCD, but in order to do that, it needs a certain level of permission in Kubernetes cluster. For example, it maintains its state or configuration in ArgoCD related map, config map. So that's why we need to add config map resource and update get verbs in order to let Botkube ArgoCD plugin to access Kubernetes environment and modify something. And there's another kubectl manifest here. As you can see, application. This is coming from ArgoCD. So if you ever used ArgoCD before, this is the application custom resource. I am saying that there will be an application which is named guestbook, and this will be in ArgoCD namespace. And here is the repo. And let's see then in its place, in place. Basically, you may ask, how can we run this Terraform logic, Terraform project? So basically, I am using Terraform Cloud. Whenever you push new changes to this Git repository, the remote, Terraform Cloud automatically detects this change and automatically plans and apply these changes to the desired infra. So I don't want to deep dive into Terraform Cloud UI, but you can take a look at on your own. It's very easy. So this setup is ready. Let me try to switch to another screen. 1 sec. I will stop sharing and share another one. 1 sec.
Great. And before we start, let's see, we already got something from the audience. Mohammed, he said, I'm a fresh developer just starting to learn Kubernetes. To be honest, I'm attending the stream to see something to fire if new curiosity sparks in my mind. So thank you for joining us, Mohammed. I just want to say Botkube is a perfect place to start. You'll be able to learn all about, Kubernetes resources. You're able to play around with different plugins in a gated environment. So you're in the right place. So we'll be showing you a little bit about ArgoCD, and I'll put some of those links that Huseyin has been talking about in the chat. Welcome. Go ahead. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Now I will try to reshare. So I hope you see my screen.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We can see
now, yeah.
Okay, now you see. Okay, so basically, I showed you a couple of input parameters: production identifier, staging identifier. So if there is a confidential data, basically you can define it on any kind of circuit manager. But if you are using Terraform Cloud, you can define it there. So they are all sensitive. And when you try to do some change, you will see it will be automatically applied because it can understand the Git changes. We don't need an additional change here, but I just wanted to show this one to you. Let's jump into the actual resource. So basically, you see there are 3 clusters here: production, staging, and production root. They are all provisioned by this Terraform logic. And assume that now everything is set up. So basically, what I showed you before in the in here, we have 3 instances, right? Except this prep prod, because I haven't set it up yet. Production, read, production, and staging. So let's see what happens if we try to interact. So basically, there are production and staging channels, which I already configured in the instance creation. In production, in order to interact with this by using Botkube, for example, ping. By doing this, assume that in production environment, you have 5 Kubernetes clusters. So by doing this, you can, if you integrate it with by using Botkube, if you integrate Botkube with your Kubernetes clusters, you will see, you will have a certain level of control over your Kubernetes clusters. Here, okay, I have two clusters here. For example, for the production, of course. You see instance not connected, prep-prod, because I created it, but I didn't connect it to any environment. Let's switch to staging one. Botkube, ping. So from here, you can understand that you can define an RBAC system, RBAC rule, based on the channel. So you can create different kind of channels, and each channel have certain level of permission set, and you can invite this Botkube to those channels. And as you can see in staging channel, I can only see the staging Kubernetes cluster here.
Huseyin, do you mind zooming in a little bit more in your Slack channel? Thank you.
Is this okay?
Yes, perfect.
Maybe like this? Okay.
Yep,
okay.
Perfect.
So here staging, right? A little bit more. Here, you can see cloud-related comments. For example, Botkube cloud list instances. Here you can list your instances that is bounded to this channel. And also, when you click Get Details, you can go directly to the cluster detail page. What else? Let's try to add something to our Kubernetes cluster and see if anything happens in the Slack channel. Here, I'm inside the staging cluster. Okay, kubectl run. This image does not exist. There is no nginx2. Let's try to run it. So this is non-existing image, and as you guess, there will be some kind of crash loop backoff, right? Because it tries to run this image, it tries a couple of times, and then it fails at the end. So as you can see, error from server, exit status 1. So you can see the events here, directly here, from here in Slack channel. Also on each event, you will have some kind of actions box. You can try to get logs, maybe top, get, describe. Let's try to describe it, and you will get the result here. So imagine this one. You have Kubernetes environment, maybe you don't have a proper access from your cluster, but even within your mobile phone, if you have Slack access, you can directly see some kind of read queries. Of course, you can define your permission levels, as I said before, but you can get very useful data related to these errors instead of so really insightful information, let's say, about the product itself. So in cloud, of course, you can see a couple of more. For example, you can see the audit log. So you can see the events just received or understood by Botkube agent, or whatever you executed in the Slack channel, you can see them all here. Of course, there is some kind of anonymization when it comes to auditing those. And let's switch to more advanced mode. So here we talk about ArgoCD. So ArgoCD is already installed inside our Kubernetes cluster. So you see this is the staging cluster, nginx3, and also we have ArgoCD stack here, ArgoCD server. We have a guestbook application there. So let's try to access here first. Don't worry about this terminal. Maybe I can zoom it a bit here, like this. Okay, I hope it is visible.
Yes, okay. It's okay.
Okay, then. So here, I will try to do a port forwarding here. And there's already a port forwarding, you can see. Okay, single application here, guestbook. Let's try to see some interaction in the Slack channel. So here, I would like to see something in the staging channel. So what we can do, I will try to jump into this repository, which is Argo example apps. Okay. So this is the ArgoCD application repository. So basically, our ArgoCD just listens for this project. As you can see, github.com, this URL, it already has some kind of resources hierarchy. Let's try to change something in guestbook. For example, we can change the replicas. You see, there is 3 guestbook UI instances. I will try to update this one as 2. Let's reduce it to 2. Here in guestbook application, I will try to synchronize it. Okay, you will see one of the instances just gone, right? We have 2 replicas. When you take a look at the Slack, you see the sync operation of application that started, initiated by admin. So in the UI, normally, I don't have a near real-time setup in Argo. I just wanted to show you the UI also. But in real time, maybe you can listen these changes. And also it can be triggered by ArgoCD itself. But here, I initiated that manually. Inside this event, you can see a couple of more comments, get, describe. You can view it in UI, but I cannot navigate to that one automatically because I don't have a domain set up for ArgoCD. You can open the repository, the source repository for this Argo application. More, you see the status synced, healthy. You can see all of the statuses here. This is the application, guestbook, and this is the new version of guestbook. These events are derived from the ArgoCD event notifications. So whatever you see in your ArgoCD panel notifications events, you can see them here, but more structured way. You see, it is not crowded. You can see, okay, status syncs, else status healthy, revision ID, you can take a look at that, and a couple of handy comments. For example, here, you can get the application. You see guestbook, synced, it is healthy. You can also describe to see what is the manifest of this, rendered manifest of this application. This is the resource, custom resource definition of Argo project itself. Okay.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's